Madhouse Podcasting Network.
I'll just start like this. When you intro me,
This is how it's gonna be. So, all right, let's do this. How's it going? we can't even start.
Okay. All right.
All right. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Mask. I am Scott with my boy Jeremy, and today we have a very special guest, longtime friend and co-character with us, Paul J Frechette. Paul, it's good to see you, man. Welcome.
How y'all doing, man? Good to see you guys too.
You too.
Long time.
Yeah.
God.
Long time.
Paul, tell me or tell us what made you go to haunt? What made you be a monster?
Well, first go way back, like when I was super young. My parents are actually from Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh wow.
So born and bred.
That.
Yeah. So my mom and dad grew up just celebrating the holidays, and whether it was Halloween, Christmas, whatever it was, my parents always went big, and every other year we would go back to Salem and visit family, and go to Salem during Halloween. And if you guys haven't been back to Salem just here during the month of October, it's just such a family-oriented, really fun, high-energy place, and I just grew up with that. And I loved the fact that you could dress up, be something that you're not, and my parents always instilled in me being just a really nice guy and treating everybody really well. And for me, dressing up.
What happened?
I know exactly. So I became such a jerk. No, but I mean, just for me, dressing up and being able to kind of live this little alternate life, and using my imagination to come up with characters, just kind of developed into something that I really loved. And the first time I went to haunt I was 12 years old, and I lasted about 5 minutes, and I ran right out the exit like most kids do.
Yep.
And I had such a wild imagination that it tarnished me. I mean, it really scared me bad. And I went when I was 13, 14, 15 and on. And I used to do little, Halloweens at my house. And I'd spend my own money doing my own little haunted houses. And they were super cheesy and super horrible. When I graduated from high school and my job allowed me to do it, I said, man, it would be really fun to be able to get paid and do something that is really fun. And I did it on my own. I didn't have any friends do it with me. I just showed up to auditions, and I was like, forget, I'm just going to do it. I don't care. And I had no idea what to expect. And like most people nowadays, they grow up knowing what haunt auditions are, or knowing what the audition process is. At that time, I had no clue. Yeah. I didn't read anything on it. There was no social media. Wow, I just dated myself, didn't I?
That's okay.
All of us. You dated all of us.
TVs were black and white. Yeah. I walked uphill in the snow.
We had rotary phones.
Yeah. But I went to auditions, and this is when they were in the Good Time Theater, and I remember sitting next to the guy next to me, and they started throwing people up on the stage, and the guy looked at me, and I don't know if I can use language on this podcast, but he looks at me and he's like, fuck this. And he gets up out of his seat and he walks out.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, like you have to get up in front of, 450 people and act like a complete idiot, and, but you know what, you guys have known me for years. And when it got up to my turn, I just went up there and I said, you know what? I'm just going to act like the biggest idiot and just have fun. And you know what? If I get picked, I get picked. If I don't, I had a good time with it, and I'll go back to doing haunts at my house. You know what I mean? Whatever.
What year was that?
1994.
94.
Yeah.
94. So, I did this whole routine where, they used to put the big slide up and they'd tell you to act like act like this guy, and you had a bare hair day or whatever. And they pulled me off the stage by myself, and they put me into a room, and the girl goes, "Oh, you're in Camp Snoopy." And I was like, What? That's so stupid. Camp Snoopy. Because I honestly had no idea. Yeah. I had no idea what anything like that was. I was like, I don't want to be Camp Snoopy. This is dumb. And she goes, no, you got you're an atmospheric talent. You don't have to be in a maze. And I'm like, but I want to be in a maze. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
She's like, just wait. You're going to enjoy it. And that was the start of it. I loved it.
That was so funny. I had the same reaction.
Do you remember what that chick's name was?
No, I just remember my first talent captain was Terry and Janine.
Okay.
Yeah. And Janine Trainee, actually, she graduated high school with me. So when she saw me, she's like, you're doing this? And because when I was in high school, I was such a quiet, kind of shy. I was an athlete, but when I was in class, I was quiet. I really didn't do a lot of things. So when she saw me doing it, she's like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, But yeah, it was a lot of fun. That first year I was on my own. I didn't have any friends. I just went, and my first character was Rot Cop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna say, so let's talk about that. Since you parlayed into that already, let's talk about Rot Cop.
Rat Cop.
Yeah, I mean, this is the year before I actually met you, so I never saw you in that character.
Nope. So it was if anybody remembers, it was a big giant mask. It kind of looked like a skull with some flesh on it, and I had the rubber piece actually had the hat built into it.
Yeah.
So the hat was actually rubber. And it was so big that I had to overlap it in the back, and they would duct tape the back of it shut at the beginning of the night. So I couldn't take it off without somebody helping me.
Oh wow!
Shit.
And it was kind of I forgot what the theme was. It was like Teenage Mutant Vigilantes or whatever it was. And everybody was like, "Oh man, you're Rock Cop. I feel so bad for you." I'm like, "Why, guys?" Because guests see you, and you're a cop that basically you're laden with like graffiti, and these zombies have gotten a hold of you, and guess what the guests do? You're just a walking target, dude, because you're a cop. And I'm like, oh, great. I was like, oh man.
Oh, that's funny.
So that was a double whammy. First, you're like, Camp Snoopy, what? And then being a high, visibility character, where like I'm up shit creek.
Oh yeah. And then the first audition you go to, they introduced sliding, and I had seen sliders before, but at that time the allure of the slider was like, oh, these guys are cool, but I could never do it. There was so few of them, so I was like, you know what, I'll get the pads, but I'll use them once in a while, no big deal. And I started with catcher pads.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd wear them out in 2 nights. Played Against Sports was the best place to get them, because you get them for like $5.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I'd go through a pair a weekend. Sure as shit, man. I was a walking target, man. I mean, peanuts, cashews. I mean, I'd find stuff stuck to my back every night. I mean, it was just but you learn quick, just like you guys know. You learn quick. Keep your back to the wall, and make sure that you protect yourself. And I learned that my first year in the most dramatic fashion. And I'm sure we'll get to stories where horror stories, but my first year was actually the worst horror story I ever had, and I learned really quick.
Really?
I was sitting in the bushes in front of it was the Funhouse at the time, Uncle
Ernie's.
Uncle Ernie's, and
yeah.
I was actually sitting in the bushes, kind of taking a break along the line, and I was just reaching out and grabbing people's ankles, and you couldn't see me there, and just out of the corner of my eye, I saw a kid running full speed, and he kicked me right in the face.
Wow.
And bloody nose, everything, and I was so angry, and you guys know I have a martial arts background. I was so angry. I jumped up and I grabbed this kid by the throat, and I picked him up off the ground. I ran him into a fence, and we both fell in the bushes. And and I will. I'm not going to say any more than that on the podcast. But I mean, that was the one and only incident I ever had in my 21 years at Haunts, of any kind of phicality, because I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
That's so funny, because my one and only incident was exactly the same thing. But except I got kicked when I went sliding. I got kicked in the face, and I picked the kid up and I threw him up against the wall. Yeah, it was. You don't realize.
You try to explain it to people that haven't worked, how dangerous it can be, and and I took it for granted. I'm 6'2". At that time I was 155 pounds skinny. But again, I had a martial arts background. I could protect myself, but you just never know. And nothing against Hunt. Security can only be in so many places, and you learned, and that's when I took the partner thing really seriously. Yeah. And you guys know I had some incredible partners after that. Every year after that, I made some incredible friends, and all the way up to Mike Reichman, Alex, the regulators. I mean, we end up staying together because of that one incident, and I will never forget it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, with that one incident, that was your first year, and you how many years you went? 25 years?
I did 21 years at Haunt.
Okay, 21 years at Haunt. So after that first incident, your first year, what made you decide to come back after something that severe?
So somebody asked me once why I liked Haunt. So over the years, the reasons you come back to Haunt kind of changes. Mm-hmm. So the first year, I used to tell people whenever I scared anybody, like a really good scare, and I'm not that guy that would like hound over people and like make them people tell these stories which I think are totally ridiculous, like I made somebody pee and I made somebody throw up and
petrifying them.
I'm one of those guys, like I love making people just jump and scream the word F, or and then they're like, man, that was so awesome, or I stay in one corner and people kind of tend to watch me because I make people laugh a lot because of the antics that I pull, because I can be super scary but at the same time make people look like idiots. Mm-hmm. Every time I scare somebody, it's kind of like jumping out of a plane. You get this you get this rush of adrenaline, and nobody gets it unless you do it. You guys get it because you've done it. Yeah. And the physicality of what we do, it's just a lot of fun. And I played sports, and it's super competitive, and like I want to get a better scare than that guy, and so for the first couple of years, that's really what brought me back. And this is going to sound super cheesy, but I always want to be the best at what I'm at, and I can't settle. I'm still that way. I'm 47 years old, and I do things, and I if I can't be the best, I will hurt myself until I do it. So when I was there, I had people that I had looked up to that were working in Ghost Town, and back then Ghost Town was where it was at. You wanted to be in that kind of upper echelon. So I was kind of on the quieter side, and I met a guy by the name of Mike Reichman that I partnered with a couple of years, and you guys know him really well. And him and I really teamed up, and whenever you get with somebody that's as competitive as you kind of raise the bar with each other. You kind of try to outdo each other, and him and I we just really hit it off and had so much fun. And I don't think in the few years that I worked, I had more fun than with him. I mean, we had such a great time, but we were so competitive, and he really networked really well, like in backstage and with the makeup artists and like with guys like you, Scott, and eventually we got to move over to Ghost Town after I think it was 3 years or 4 years.
I remember you guys coming over. You guys came over to be playing the show with us.
Yeah, in the pit.
Yeah.
90. I want to say 97 because
it was 96 or 97.
Yeah, because I was already in makeup when you guys came over the first time, and 97 was my first year in makeup.
Yeah.
And you guys came over, and we told Craig, we need these two in Ghost Town next year. Yeah. We said that, and I remember vividly because me and Wade were like, Craig.
Yeah, I had the super long green hair down to my butt. I was the medieval minstrel.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and for me, like I said, there's always a means to an end in everything that I do, and I always want to be the best. And just meeting you guys and seeing the camaraderie in Ghost Town, and even in Camp Snoopy, I made friends, and I still am friends with a lot of these guys. And talk to them. And so, like I talked about, the motivation is the first 3 or 4 years, it was all about scaring and doing my thing and having fun, and then it kind of transitions into friendships. It's like a fraternity, and you want to see these people every year, and it ends up being super fun. And then you start developing like these little fan bases, and you get to see the makeup artists every year, and there's this really tight community, even all the way up to Craig. You love to see these people every single year, and it becomes kind of a serious addiction. And I was just really blessed because I've worked in hotels my entire life since I was 17, and I've always had bosses that were really great about letting me take the time off to be able to do it. So I've always been able to maintain a job in a career and still be able to do hunts. And I'm one of the very, very lucky ones that have been able to do that. And I look forward to coming back. I started using all my vacation to do it. And I ended up meeting my wife and getting married through hunts.
Craziness.
It's crazy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So, okay. You were rock cop for a year.
Yep.
Right. And then
2 years
into that, or 2 years?
2 years.
Okay. So 94, 95.
Yep.
96, you were the minstrel.
Medieval minstrel, baby.
Yeah, whatever that was.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was. It was that sock mask I wore I had that bright green hair that I had to pin in every night.
Yeah.
That's a costume I'd like to forget.
and then that was 96. You were the minstrel. And then you came to Ghost Town in 97 with Mike.
Yep.
I can't remember. Did you get makeup that year? Or were you still the minstrel for a year?
I actually wore that. We went cowboy, but I wore that same mask.
Yeah.
That's right.
I still had the long green hair, and I just painted the mask a little bit different. But yeah, it was still. I mean, it was cool because stock masks were the way to go back then. I mean, Jeremy, you had the skull mask. Like those were killer. I don't know why they don't really have those anymore. I really like those.
They still do.
They do.
That company still exists.
That company exists.
I don't see
Yeah, I have it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to buy another one. Those are so cool.
The only downside was the sock would stretch out. You can't wash it.
Yeah.
So it would stay stretched. There it is.
Oh, sweet.
Brand new.
Dude, I miss those, man. Those masks are so kick-ass.
Yeah. Right. I just got to find the Michael Jackson wig so I can remake my character.
I remember that.
Yeah. See, I don't have my skull mask anymore.
Yeah, all those got so tore up. I don't have any of those anymore.
Well, the funny thing is the company that makes that mask, they make the mask that you were just talking about that you wore. They make the one that Jim wore. They made Ryan wore one. Like, dude, like Ghost Town was full of their masks. It was
littered with them for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the way to go.
Yeah, it was all the same company. I never realized that until last year.
I
came across that company.
See right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
LA Times. That was in 96. And that's when I was the skull.
Yeah. Pretty much any sock mask
alien.
back then was from Zargon.
Yep.
Or Zar1 or whatever it's called.
It's Zargon. I looked them up.
Yeah. So
if you ever want something like that again, Paul, you can go. Yeah. You can look them up.
I'll shoot you the email. I'll shoot you their link.
Shoot me an email, man, because I would actually just like to order one or two and just have them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to have.
Yeah.
And they're still cheap. Well, that's what's cool. They're still cheap masks.
Yeah. And I'll wear them. So
yeah, they're cheap masks and they look really good.
Yeah, they look great for what they are.
They look great for what they are, and they're functional. Yeah.
So it's funny, Paul. You mentioned how, like, when you wanted to come over to Ghost Town, the reasoning behind it. That was my exact reasoning too. Is like when I went in '96 to talk to Craig, he wanted to put me in CS, and he's like, "What do you think of that?" I said, "No, I want Ghost Town." He says, "Why?" And I explained to him. I go, me coming in as a guest and watching these guys work, they look like a tight-knit family, and it's like a brotherhood, and I want to be a part of that. You know, and he's like, "Okay, here's your paperwork," type of thing. So there's a similarity to that, and it's true though. Like through our early years, all that stuff was always the same, of course, and we argued like a fucking family too.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times that. But here's the thing: is I always tell people this. You know, you can have a friendly rivalry all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I did jumping people. I mean, I tell people that all the time. But you know what? It always raised the bar. Like when Jeremy and Chris used to come out on the streets when they started their little tag team, and Mike and I were a tag team.
Yeah.
Like Mike and I would always be like, "Dude, let's find Jeremy and Chris. Let's outdo them. Like, let's do this." You know what I mean? But what did it lead to? It led to us going out all four together, like the very next year, because that's what you did. You know what I mean? And there was always disagreements, and there was always. I mean, that's just the way. That's the way families are. You know what I mean? And as long as you know there's no repercussions or anything, it's like, dude, we're all out here for the same reason.
Yeah.
Like all these people that bring haunt drama and they live all year round to come to this and then they pull all this bullshit. It's like, guys, you're making like minimum wage. You're coming to scare people. Like, Like, just come on, like, just let it go.
Just
you know what I
Here
mean?
to be
Like,
a scary guy. That's it.
Yeah.
just go and have fun. It's all just meant to have fun. You're taking it way too serious.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so now you're in Ghost Town for a year. You were the minstrel for that one season.
Yep.
Let's talk about your next character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why don't you kind of bring that to light and talk about how you actually thought of that? I already know this story, but I want the viewers to know.
Are you talking about Spawn?
Yeah, how like you're like, this is what I want to do.
So, I'm not preachy, but I'm Christian and I'm fairly religious, and I was obsessed with the Spawn comic book for many years. And for those of you who know haunt history, Mel, God bless her, she was, oh my God, I just felt this overwhelming emotion. I just almost got upset. She was just a wonderful lady, and I loved her very much. And her and I really didn't have a lot in common. And, Mike and I had a really great year, successful year. And, we got a call and they offered us makeup spots. And, I just figured that I was going to get an old piece, and I made peace with it, and I was totally cool with it. And, I went to Haunt. I went to Knott's to get my face cast, and a gentleman by the name of Aaron King was there,
Yep.
who I just saw on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
And, yeah, I lived with Aaron for several years. He was my original, and Aaron King and I go way back. And so he casted my first face at Haunt. And while we were doing the casting, Mel was there, and she was doing some stuff, and she just said, "Hey, I got some really old pieces. We're looking to do some new stuff." And for some reason, we got on the subject of Todd McFarlane, and she really was a huge fan of Todd McFarlane.
Mm-hmm.
God bless it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So she loves Spawn too. I just told her, and she started talking to me about the deeper meaning for me. And I just told her, I said, every day we're just presented with these decisions of there's this balance between heaven and hell. And we're presented with these decisions. Like, you can make a really good decision or bad decision, and you can choose your life the way you want to live it. And she was like, wow, you're going really deep with this. This is just a Haunt character. I remember having this conversation, and it would, and she's like, wow, you're going really deep with this. She's like, but I get what you're saying. And she's like, you know what? I can see how passionate you are about this. She's like, you know what? I think we're going to do it. And I remember going home, and I was like, there's no way she's going to do this. And when she came out with that piece, I was speechless for days. So yeah, that's how it came to be. And I just, that if you see the first weekend that I went out with that piece, you can't even tell it's Spawn, because it was so funky painted. And I had this like Don King wig that I had pigtails here and a pigtail here.
Mm-hmm.
You wore that many a times though.
Oh my God, it was so cheesy. But after the first couple weekends, started hitting my groove, and we went with the darker colors, and we went with what people are more traditionally used to, and people started to recognize it. And then towards the end of the first season that I had, Spawn, my partner Mike Reichman, still working with him all the time. He had the old sheriff piece with like the jawbone that was coming out, and
it was called Jawbone on the paperwork.
It was called Jawbone, yep. And one night we got permission. You can't do this anymore, but we got permission to go out as twins. So we both went out as Jawbone. That was before we did the twin spawns. Yep. And we did this whole drunk brother routine, and we were fighting over girls, and it was just so fun. We were trash canning each other, and
I remember that night.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
It was so fun, and we looked just like each other, even though I'm a head taller than Mike. And so the very next night we had an extra Spawn piece. So they're like, hey, why don't you guys do twin spawns? And that was the beginning of something really special for a couple of years. They allowed us for I think it was 2 years, where every other night we would switch characters. We would go out as double spawns, or we call them the drunk brothers. But it was just, it kicked ass. I would run, we had the same exact outfit. We had the same exact mannerisms. We would run by people. Like, I'd run by people and people would go, "Whoa!" And then Mike would run up behind them, and they'd turn around. It was like the same person in their face. It would just play mind games with people. And we did that for a couple of years, and it was just, it just rocked.
Yeah, you guys were true identical twins minus the height. Chris and I were very distinguished. Like we had different colors for the most part. So you were minus his height as well, but you were able to identify us pretty straight right away. You guys, no. You guys are
well. We tried really hard. I mean, we even went to the point where when we made our costumes the first year, we had our jeans in the street, and we tried to match the bleach on our jeans, the pattern exact. I mean, that's how tight we tried to make it.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, then you got the twin spawns, and then the twin jawbone, and then the quad spawns.
Yeah, that was there's few nights in my haunt history that are like really extra special to me. And one of those is the night that we got permission to with Jeremy and Chris to do. We ended up doing the quad spawns. Did
we do that one night, or did we do it a couple nights?
I don't know. I only remember one night, but I mean,
I just remember you having to wear faces for like 5-6 nights straight.
Yep.
So you could save it for them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you know what? There's I tell people this, and nobody understands this now is. And back then, if you played your cards right and you never got in trouble and you were always working your ass off, the upper echelon of who used to work at Haunt, and whether it was Craig or Denise in makeup or Kat or whoever it was, you know, they would reward you for doing what you did. Even the talent captains, you know.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a reward for all four of us, working our asses off every night, going home and barely being able to walk. And then they drop this bomb on us and say, hey, do you guys want to do this? And you know, I mean, we were just
okay.
like, yeah.
Yeah, there was no question. There was definitely no question.
Yeah, and I still have the photograph like buried in like one of my like Tupperware containers, like in my closet, of us taking it in Kmart Alley. We took that picture with the four of us.
Yep.
I still have that picture.
Yeah, I have it
somewhere.
I'll put it. I'm going to put it in this.
Caps.
Yeah, we all went ball caps.
We were all identical. Yeah, it was awesome. But I will say, it was a bitch keeping up with the two of you.
You know what? It's all semantics, man. Because you guys were way more athletic than Mike and I were. You guys were always doing your flips and your kicks and your, you know. So it was like it's a trade, right? Mike and I were always thoroughbreds. We were always really skinny and always running.
Yeah.
But you guys were super athletic and powerful. So there's always Scott, you've been at slider practices with me. Is everybody has like a different technique.
Yeah.
And like if I tried to do your technique, I wouldn't be able to walk the next day. You know what I mean? Like some people slide really powerful. Some people are really smooth. Some people are just really high speed and athletic. I mean, and it's very different. But yeah, that night, man, it will go down, and nobody nowadays will ever remember this. You know what I mean?
They won't remember it, and they'll never see it again.
No,
that's the thing, because it has never been done, and that is like that's the one thing that we can the four of us can keep in our hearts go down as in histoy for Scary Farm, you know, and only a handful of people will know about it. Well, now all the people watching this. But that's the reason why we did this podcast, is because we wanted to be able to share stories like this. You know, Nights of Horror, they're doing, you know, they're interviewing all the new guys, and you know, with all the new rules and all, and they're getting their stories, which is great. We wanted to bring out.
We want to get the
old stuff.
You know?
We wanted to make sure that people really knew what Knott's was like back in the day, the stuff that we got away with, and it wasn't a matter of like getting away with it. It was like the makeup artists and the like you said, the upper echelons are the ones. Hey, why don't you guys go try this, or why don't you guys go and dress the same and just go have fun.
Just experiment with what's out there and see what works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, here's stories of like chasing somebody from the main gate all the way over to the back gate. You know, the things you can't
From
do
Beach
anymore.
Boulevard to Western.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think that you know, when we were, like I said, up until right before COVID, you know, I was still doing Decayed Brigade, and you know, even talking to those guys, and then I go and I see Haunt, versus when we did it is it's still a fun thing, and it's still really great. But the big stark difference that I see is they still they're still allowed to create characters, but it's a lot more muddled than it used to be. So in your creative, like when you go to Ghost Town, the pieces are just phenomenal, and they're really creative, but because of the color scheme they use and because it's so dark now, it's really hard to differentiate unless you're the bride, right? Or maybe one or two other identifiable characters. It's hard to find people. It's really hard to differentiate yourself. And back then they had, the pig twins were really bright, and you had an alien, and you had and I get where they're going with it. They want to theme it, and I understand all this stuff, but what people are not going to understand is and I'm sure we're going to talk about Spats, but coming up with Spawn, like people would come to haunt and try and find me, and it was like, where's Waldo? Because my transition to Spawn, I ended up going all black and being super menacing and terrifying. But there was just this, even in the pit, during the hanging, all those characters from Scott to Wade to Todd, they all had something. There was something that people would remember them by. There was identifiable silhouette. There was all these things, and now I just don't. It's just different, and it's just a bummer, because there's people that I know, there's like Trey, and there's all these guys that work there right now that are identifiable, and their pieces are phenomenal, but you can't see them. And that's I think what the biggest stark difference is, besides all the rules I've strapped on everybody, between then and now.
Right. Yeah, no, it's crazy, because you're right, because every back in the day, everybody was very okay, we were all cowboys, but we all had specific looks in the sense of our color schemes and our certain things on our costumes that were noticeable. And that has changed now, so it's a little more consistent across the board.
When I go to all the parks every year, and the thing that always differentiated me from when you went to Knott's is that there was always this creative freedom, and there was always these characters that you'd walk around and you would remember, like tons of them. Now there's probably 10, maybe 15, but you would go to Knott's, in the 90s and the early 2000s, and there was 50, 60 different characters that you would always remember, because these people were coming back every year, and that's been kind of lost. And again, there's a lot of people that I still care about and that are still working it, and they work their asses off. But that identity as a park, it's just kind of, now they're just another haunt. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's changed quite a bit. Yeah. There's still the. I mean, I'm sure everybody out there too. Knott's is the granddaddy still. Yeah.
It still is.
All three of us have deep-seated roots there, and that's the way it's always going to be for me. I'm super stoked I had time there all the time I did, so that's always great.
Yeah, and it's still in my eyes, it's still the best.
I love going there. During the year when I'm working my event, wherever I end up, I always take a night off, or whatever night I can that we're not working. I go to Knott's. I was able to go 3 times this year. 3 times.
Yeah.
2021 season.
You walk in, and no matter how long it's been, you walk through the gates, and especially areas that you've worked, and you still get this major adrenaline rush, and you see the guys walking around, and it's hard. It's still hard, and my first year back, you can ask Christy, my first year back, I actually was only there an hour, and I couldn't handle it. I had to leave because it was so hard. Yeah. And people will never understand it. It seems like the silliest thing. But when you do something for so long, and you've made so many friends, and you have so many ties to it, even now, I did Decayed Brigade for 7 years, and this year, they started kind of getting back into it, and I know they were doing things, and I did my time, and I loved it, and I know I'm done with it, and I loved it, and I put everything into it, but it was hard. It was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just create so many relationships and you put so much into something,
and it's weird because when you step out of that, it makes you feel like you've lost all of the people that you built bonds with.
Well, I and the measure of a true friendship is what happens after. Like Scott, you and I, we don't see each other that much, but we it's funny, our circle always comes around and we always talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how that always works, because there's people in the industry that reached out to me this past October, and they're like, hey, we need your help, or we need you, or will you come out sliding with us, or whatever it may be, and and those relationships are going to last forever.
So that's exactly it. I mean, Jeremy's a perfect example too, because I met him about the same time, a couple years after I met you,
mm-hmm.
and he and I talk on a weekly basis outside of the podcast stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
And this was the podcast thing was his brainchild, and he presented it to me, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what we can bring to the table that's different. And I think what we have that's unique is that we know so many people from the beginning. So we have a lot of the history that we can bring into the forefront, and that's what we want to bring to the viewers.
To get a reminisce.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, this is like the three of us here. There's over 60, 70 years of haunt, experience here. But we talk about this stuff. We get the information out to the viewers, but we're also reminiscing about good times and bad times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was the reason why I'm like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. When you guys reached out to me, I couldn't wait. So.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. Like I told you, there was, considering the history of it and how far the three of us go back, there was no way I was not going to reach out to you and say, Paul, do you want to do a podcast with us? This is what it's about. And I knew, the thing is, I shouldn't have even asked you. I said, hey, we're bringing you on a podcast because this is what it's about. Because I already knew you were going to say yes. It was pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. No, so, I appreciate it more than you guys know. It's awesome,
dude.
Yeah, I understand you. I understand you going to haunt and then and bailing at an hour in. We went to Knott's Berry Farm last June, and we ended up being like one of the handful of people that left the park late. And I was walking my kids with my wife and our friends, and I kind of just veered off in Ghost Town, and and I just walked by myself with my kids, and. And my wife knew she knew what I was doing, and and it's just I just went through at night, and it's just being in Ghost Town at night it's emotional. It was like, fuck, I miss this place,
I was just there Saturday.
Oh, were you?
And the sun was going down and stuff, and I'm looking around Ghost Town. It's like, and we were there on Thanksgiving. And crannies that we used to use,
Yeah, Scott and I were there on Thanksgiving, and it was the same thing. During the day, it's like, it's just even during Christmas time, it's like there's something about Ghost Town, and we're all thankful, I'm sure, for being a part of Ghost Town.
Yeah.
So I get that. I get that whole thing. When I went back in 2015. I wasn't in the right. I don't think I was in the right state of mind. Like when I went back, you left 14, right?
Yep.
Yeah. 14 was his last year.
Yeah. So I came back in 2015, and minus like my work issues that I had, I couldn't work as many nights as I planned. Just being there, I wasn't vibing it anymore. It wasn't like I had some fun, but it wasn't like old times.
Well, it was different though too, because Ron was only on there a few nights, Rogue, so he would work with him there. But then there was a lot of nights he was working by myself, and me being in the management role already, I wasn't out there running the street with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was a very different.
Yeah, dude. The first night, I felt so alone. I walked. I didn't know anybody. I'm like, oh my god. I was walking around like my head down. I'm like, oh, this sucks. Where's everybody at?
Yeah. It's there's always that change of the guard, and there's always kind of that mass exodus, and there's been a lot of people that have tried to come back, and things changed a lot, and there's always those new generations that come, and believe me, there's been many times that I've talked to Chrissy about possibly going back, but now I'm just not. one, I have, my son, obviously,
Right.
but two, it's
Daddy
just,
Paul now.
yeah. And then, well, the level of commitment that they expect from you now is it's just too much. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a lot.
if you could do 2 nights a week, I would probably consider doing it, but it's just not, it's not in the cards.
No.
Yeah, no. So, it's funny, is like you were saying, like we were just talking about it, how tough it is to be out of being scary guy and then going back to the event and watching and having to leave is this year. And I've told the people that have made me feel this way, you guys have made me miss being a character just a little bit. And that's false. Like they made me miss being a character huge this year, like between going to Knott's and going to actual Six Flags.
Yeah.
Because I'm friends with all the guys over there now. They're in the slider show and everything. And watching the group at Knott's and then watching them, it really made me miss, being all decked out in costume, going out there and scaring the shit out of people with people that I'm friends with,
Yeah.
So it's do I say going back to being characters out of the cards? No.
I don't know. The
I don't say
50th
that
is
it's
coming
completely out
up,
of the
man.
cards. What?
The 50th is coming up. Maybe we should all go back for the 50th.
Oh God.
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Paul's like, fuck, I don't know, dude.
I definitely could be in the shape for it because I stay in good shape, but it's like I said, for me, it's the commitment, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's just so many nights, and they don't give you a break, dude. They don't give you a break. So
It's crazy. But you know what though? I'm used to doing long runs too. I mean, like when Wade and I still ran together, I think the longest stretch we had was like 11 nights.
Yeah.
And that was before he decided I'm not doing Wednesdays anymore. So he and I ran every single night. Go to work the day, come down and get into makeup, take a nap, and run back out on streets and do our thing.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot different when you're 47 years old.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, because I was in my 30s then.
Yeah. It's
and I just turned 50.
You're old, dude.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still going strong, man. I'm like you. I'm in great shape, and still doing my thing. I have to for my business, so
Yeah, I try to tell people that is I know we're kind of getting off subject, but when it comes to haunt, is there's just so many people that live this really unhealthy lifestyle, and a lot of people ask me how I did it for so long and was able to maintain a career and stay so active and do all these things. And I just told people, a lot of people just don't get it. Like they'll party hard and they do these crazy things, and they're out all night, and and then even during the year they don't take care of themselves. And then you and I will go to slider practice at the rinks, and I'm 47, you're 50, and we can go out there and put pads on even if we haven't been sliding, and we can do it. And then some of these people, man, I'm afraid they're going to blow a knee out or get hurt because they don't take care of themselves. And it's like the story of everyday life. Even at hunt, you just gotta work out a little bit. And I mean, you don't have to work out a ton, and like on the weekends I eat whatever I want, but during the week I'm pretty cognizant about what I eat and like all this stuff. And and I think when it comes to doing runs that long and taking care of yourself, like when you're young, you're indestructible. You can eat whatever you want. But when you start getting into your 30s and then 40s and you're working these events, my diet totally changed. I mean, what I was eating totally changed, and I was able to maintain all that stuff. And you tell these guys that, and then they're like, they don't do it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well,
Well,
yeah, that's exactly it. These guys that are having issues are half our age.
Well,
I know.
Around there,
I know.
out there in practice, and they're dying, and we're out there going 2 hours in. We're still going at it.
So imagine saying that to your 20-year-old self. What would you say?
Well, see, I'm a little bit different, man. I had a dad that my dad was super competitive. They had me in sports all the time, and you guys know me. I've always been super limber, and I was in martial arts. I was playing sports, so like I would have made caution to the wind just because my dad's 82 years old and still walks 5 miles a day, and he's always taking good care of himself. So I had a really I'm lucky. My dad's my best friend, so I always had a really great mentor. So I probably would have listened, But
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I totally see what you're saying, because there's several people, like, you know, I'm good friends still with Alex Robles and Cowboy Bobby, for those people who don't know him, you know what I mean? And back then, man, those guys, God bless them. I love them. And Alex, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but those guys were so self-destructive when they were that age.
100% agree.
Yeah. And I don't know how they're still walking. I just don't.
Alex waddles now.
Yeah, but they'll tell you it was very inhibiting, you know, as they got later in their hunt careers, man. It really affected them.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the thing. Like, well, even you, Jeremy, with your jacked up knee, but the three of us, we stayed on the healthier side of things.
I jacked my knee up doing shit. It wasn't because I was unhealthy. It was because I was ambitious, and I just landed wrong. And I didn't even do it at home.
Even with injuries, we've stayed more on the healthy side. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had a couple of really bad years where my performance really suffered.
I wasn't healthy. I didn't eat healthy at all back then, though. I really didn't start eating healthy until like the last 5 years. And I wasn't like unhealthy, but I mean more so in the sense of I'm really like calorie watching and making sure I get my macros right. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah. I didn't eat well. I ate like pretty, you know, like you would say, like shit. But that still didn't stop me from being athletic and working out. I still worked out. I still ran. I was still very, very athletic. And that's probably why I didn't gain a lot of weight, because I was constantly burning so many calories and working out. So I'm sure if I ate pretty well back then, I'd be pretty fit. But
I think as a collective here, we could all say, if we knew now, we knew back then, the game would have been different.
Of course.
You know, for all of us. Even though I know Paul said you've been fairly consistent because you're dad, but just imagine the knowledge you have now compared to back then. Total game changer.
And it's definitely off subject, but it's important subject. You know, especially because people that are going to watch your episode, Paul, are going to be people that are into sliding for the most part, you know, and they need to know this stuff. And whether or not they take it seriously, what are you going to do? But at least
take care of yourself. Take care of your legs. Yeah. Take care of your core.
Yes.
Telling you guys.
Work out.
I have as a funny story, somebody, I won't name this person because they may listen to this, but somebody who used to work with us at Hunt just told me that they are going to attempt to do a kind of a slider practice / thing with somebody. And this person talks to me all the time, and they asked me, you know, what did I used to do, you know, when I was getting ready for Hunt? And, you know, I was always athletic, but the one thing that I would do is I would literally walk around the house doing lunges, like everywhere around the house. So I'd be doing hundreds of them. Everyone teases me about my big butt. And I literally, I'd walk from the kitchen to the bathroom to my room, and I would do it for like hours. And so I told this person, I said, hey, just for one day, try to do lunges all over the house. The next day, this person called me. This is just like a week ago. The next person this person called me and said she's like, I can't even walk to my car right now. Like, I can't even get in my car. And I told her, I said, you know, if I did that right now, I probably couldn't do it either. But that's what I used to do is like about a month before Hunt started, that's all I would do is I didn't do any other exercises because I was still playing basketball and doing stuff, but that's what I did. I mean, I walked to my car doing lunges. I would walk, and I only did it like around and in my house, but man, it paid off. Yeah, it works. It definitely works. And being a martial artist really helps that core and the legs. So that's probably why we lasted so long. All right, enough health tips.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we knew that we were going to get off topic. So, okay, so let's go back to your Spawn years.
No, let's go to the next character. Spat.
Not yet. We haven't talked about how long he's been Spawn. Jeremy, I'm going to punch you through the screen, bro. Because there's history there. So how many years were you Spawn?
I thought we were done with Spawn.
Oh my gosh.
Lots.
That is a great question.
You were Spawn the whole time I was there.
Oh, yeah, probably. I remember I was Spawn until, so come full circle, Aaron King ended up being my makeup artist again. Probably between 8 and 10 years.
Okay.
So we're going on right around 11 years at Hunt. Okay. So we're right around 2004, 2005 probably. And Aaron King was my makeup artist. one this is going to transition into Spats. So
Yes.
So I'm trying to think when because right around when I started dating Chrissy is when Spats came, and Chrissy's my current wife. For those of you who don't know, I've been married 12 years. We've been together.
Well, I remember when you met her, you were Spawn. You proposed to her as Spawn.
Yeah. So anyways, we're going to mix up a couple years here, but so one night, it was one of my last years with Aaron King. I came to haunt horrifically sick. I mean, I was like on my deathbed, and I was at home, and I was like, I want to work, but I'm going to go in, and I just don't want a piece. And so I just grabbed jeans and whatever I could, and I showed up at haunt, and I told Aaron, I was like, dude, I can't wear a piece tonight. And he's like, dude, I'm just gonna do your makeup. And he's like, so what did you bring? And I pick up this wig, and I show him this wig, and it's my dead grandmother's wig.
You're shitting me, for real.
That white curly wig.
That was your dead grandmother's.
That was my dead grandmother's wig.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
And Aaron's like, dude, that thing is hideous. And it was just like an old lady curly white wig. It was just, if you guys remember. And so what he did is he just made my face up, and I went out, and I remember how sick I was, but I just went kind of crazy and berserk, and I kind of went with this weird personality, and I came back, and I was like, man, I actually had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, I remember that night.
Yeah, and that was kind of what started it, and so the very next year is when Alex Robles came to Ghost Town,
right?
And then if many people remember him being Bobby, and he used to wear the sparring hat, the sparring helmet, and there's a couple nights that I wore a sparring helmet, and him and I used to go out as partners, and that was kind of the next stage. And so right around then, they had shared with me that they were going away from all the copywritten characters because Universal was pulling all that BS, the going away of Frankenstein and Dracula. And
was there a cease and desist that came through?
No, there was not.
Okay.
So they told me I had one more year as Spawn. So they gave me a year notice. So I went all out. I had fun. And what was great was Phil was my makeup artist during that year. Uh-huh. And so Phil and I saved about 4 or 5 pieces, which I still have.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I still have yet to use them. And at the end of that year, this is when I was full blown dating Chrissy, and we wanted to come up with a new character, and so we were, I was like, man, I really like doing that really crazy kind of schizophrenic character like Alex liked, but I want to go with something really dark. And Chrissy's like, and Chrissy and I had just grown so close, and we were still dating at the time. And I said, hey, let's team up and think of something, So what we did is we kind of put a storyboard together, and I was like, okay, my family's from Salem. And we were like, okay, so like kind of like a Pilgrim kind of cheesy look, and we put that on a storyboard. And then we were like, you know what? I didn't want to go with anything cowboyish because there's too many cowboys. And then we put together. I love the Hatbox Ghost from Disney, right? The top hat look and like all that stuff. And then we put together the story about a guy that lived on the East Coast that was he dressed up like a gentleman. He wore coattails, but inside he was like this method actor, this guy that would just whatever role he'd take on, he would consume, and he would end up being this personality. And he ended up being a really sick mental person. Even though people thought he was very distinguished, he had this really disturbing dark side. And people started to figure this out. So he needed to get away from the Massachusetts really high-end crowd. So he ventured out west to Ghost Town, to Calico. And people started to trust him because he was very well dressed and very well liked. And my wife and my son are coming in. And so as she's going to love this story because she's a big part of this. This guy comes to this town, and he ends up setting up brothels, and he ends up doing illegal things, and people start disappearing and like all this weird stuff. So the town figures out it's him, and they decide to have him lit.
Lynch.
And my character is this guy coming back reincarnate to take his revenge out back on Calico.
Okay.
And that's the whole story of Spats.
Okay.
Nice.
So correct me if I'm wrong. When you first came out, I remember that night too when you were sick as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you first came out, didn't you call that character the Hooligan?
Yeah, we used to call me, Jeff, Alex, and myself. We called each other the Hooligans,
Okay, that's where that came from. I'm like, wait a minute.
and that's how the Regulators started.
Yeah.
It started with the Hooligans.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I thought that was such a great thing you guys did. I mean, that fucking white wig, dude.
It's what's funny is the character was meant to be kind of psycho. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to look like real hair. It was meant to look like a wig. It was meant to look like a guy that was just like off his gourd and out of his stars. And it was funny because some guests would be like, "That doesn't even look like real hair," and in my head, I'm like, "It's not supposed to, you idiot." You know, what I mean,
Yeah.
like, and as Spats kind of transformed, it started with the curly wig. And if you guys notice over the years, that wig transformed into what looked into kind of real hair, and then it went into kind of a death look, and then that character went darker and darker and darker as the years went on.
Yeah.
And that was purposely done to make him look like he was aging with the town and
cool.
and getting kind of worse off as things were going on.
It got straighter, the costume got grungier, and
That's-
And it got darker. Yep.
Yep.
That's
Exactly.
That's the one thing that's a bummer about Nuts in general. I always wish they would like do a special booklet or something where they take the characters, backstories, and just have them an explanation for people that actually care. So when they go see him on the streets, they know, and they're they won't go and presume, oh, hey, look, his costume looks like crap or whatever. No, there's a purpose behind this costume. You know what I'm saying? Like, listening to your story, nobody would know that going out there. I didn't know that, and personally, I was like, I don't know about this character. I wasn't 100% on it because I know you, and I'm like, I don't know about this character. Watching you, I'm like, all right, I get it now, but I didn't know the backstory, and now I'm like, wow, that's fucking cool. You know what I'm saying?
This is the first time we've both heard this backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't let me have the character unless I did the backstory.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's where that schizophrenic scream came from. That's where all that stuff came from, was that personality of this guy that just, he can't control what's in his mind. And that's where that whole story came from.
And that's the thing I don't get is and I know I heard that about a few from a few people that now, like, in order for you to make character, you have to give a backstory. They have to approve the backstory, and it's like, well, what's the fucking point of you approving a backstory if you're not going to utilize it to showcase this character?
I know.
It makes no fucking sense.
It never comes out. And it's funny because Ted Doherty and I had this conversation many years ago, because he said it's such a shame that all these people came up with these really incredible characters. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will see them, and yet they don't know the entire backstory. And it would help with even though they like the characters and they think they're really cool, they don't know. They don't know what the whole backstory is. And I think they would be much more allured by them if they knew what they were all about.
I agree 100%.
And there's a lot of people that go through all this trouble. Like, I put, that was a lot of thought that we put into that character. And for me, it's like, whatever. I mean, I loved it, and it was amazing. And I still use the character. I mean, I still have the costume. They still bust them out once in a while. And, but there's people that really put a lot of work into their character, even this past year, and they have these really elaborate backstories and all this stuff, and nobody appreciates it. No, I mean, and it sucks because they put so much work into it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what's your purpose, Nuts? Why are you making these people go through so much trouble? And although they're passionate about it, because one, they want to be on Ghost Town or wherever they want to be, but they're passionate about creating this character and this backstory, and they put a lot of their personality and their personal life into it. For what? For you to just go, oh, okay, yeah, you're cool.
Yeah.
Fucking kidding me?
That's
like, back in the day, we would just like, I wouldn't even, I never got one thing approved back in the day. I would just go out. And if they said something, I'd just be like, oh, I didn't know. I play stupid, and I'd always get away with it, but they never said anything. And back in the day, we used to go out
it's
and
crazy
like,
now.
yeah, we used to go out in rainbow colors and freaking glitter. We used to go out like,
Well, when we went out as peeps.
yeah,
We
I know,
went out-
yeah. I mean, we used to go out and it's like now it's like, okay, well, no, you have to have a certain look in Ghost Town. You have to have a backstory, but we're not going to do anything with it. It's just to make you guys jump through hoops to make us feel good or something. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And that's the fun. That's the alluring fun part that's not there anymore. Is not to still scary, not to still the place to be. It's still really intense. But like, you know, the night where the hardcore fans would come to see the fun, the shenanigans, like all that stuff. That's all. That you don't see any of that anymore. There's none of that anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's changed a lot.
Yeah.
I still love the event though, going and watching everybody do their thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, my whole joy of being in this industry before was about getting the scared. Now it's about watching whoever my people are doing that.
Yeah, developing the next generation.
I actually got in some scares this year, though.
Did you?
Didn't even dress up or anything when I was working. I was working with one of my people at Hayride at Midnight Mortuary. I'm standing at the end of the mausoleum, and my talent was on one side, which it just so happened is one of my people from Queen Mary. And I was standing on the other side, so they see her, and I would scream on the other side, "Wah!" like that. No costume, nothing. I'd scare the shit out of people. It was great.
Nice.
Yeah, for about 10 minutes, and I went on my way.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's always in your blood, man. You can't stop. I still do it at work at the hotel. I level my employees, so I can't help it.
Dude, I live with Rissy and Connor, and they're fraidy cats. Like I'll be sitting in my chair watching TV, and Rissy will walk by, and I'll do a little. So it's just one of those things.
So you do Spats all the way till your retirement, which is 2014.
14. So my wife was pregnant, and I decided to retire because you guys know this, but a lot of people don't. Is Haunt's a lot bigger than just 1 month, and it consumes your life. And I wanted to have a family, and I wanted to dedicate my time to my son and my wife. So my wife got pregnant, and she was due December 23rd of that year. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to retire, and just as a blessing, the guys that I was closest to, Jeff Long, Monstar, Jeremy, Schumach, Tweak, Alex Robles, Alexis, all of the people that I was closest to, also decided to retire too. And it was just a tremendous going out party. And I will never, ever, ever forget that last night ever in my life. I
lost my shit that night too.
I was a wreck. So first of all, my wife was, 7 months pregnant, and she came to see us, and she had no idea. Knots gave me permission to do Spawn one more night.
Yep.
Nice.
And I came out of Spawn. We have it on video. My wife lost it, completely lost it, and then I lost it as Spawn. I just let everything out. We had a really, really great time. And then, the last hour and a half was in front of Birdcage Theater with everybody. And, little did we know, a lot of people that were, people that had come to see a lot of us, like even Alex's Cowboy Bobby or Jeff's Monstar had gotten news that we were all retiring. And over that hour and a half, it went from about 50 people in front of Birdcage to about 500. It was it had to be 400 or 500 people. I mean, it was you couldn't
crazy.
even move. And and I didn't even notice because I was just going all out. I was like, this is my last hour ever. And I was chasing kids in the shops. I mean, I didn't care. I didn't care I was going to get fired. I was running into, it was crazy. And, then we walked backstage and we all walked. Again, we have this all on video. We walked backstage with our arms around each other, and there was not a dry eye. I was bawling for like 2 hours. It was rough.
Yeah. Right behind A2 gate right there.
Yep. And we took a bunch of pictures of people from Ghost Town, and we got the upper echelon of Haunt was there, and they all said their goodbyes and thanked us for so many years of service. And it's a night I will never forget. It was one of the most pivotal nights of my life. It just meant so much that so many people were there, and all that hard work, 21 years, and so many hours. And I mean, and you guys know, blood, sweat, tears.
Yeah.
I mean, one marriage, and then a marriage that I'm the happiest man in the world. And I would have never met my wife and had my son if I didn't go through all these things and have the friends that I have. And that's what people don't realize is the hunt industry is not just about scaring people. It's my life would not be the way it is right now without going to knots and doing the things that I did for that long. But it was absolutely amazing. And then it led into Decayed Brigade, and doing, there's still things that I do in the industry with Ted and Robert Bradvica and Dark, and there's all these things, and dealing with you, Scott, and the Quickberry Sliders and all this stuff that I've still been doing things right up until COVID, because of knots, it's just an amazing trip. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. It's been a long and fun and grueling journey. For all of us, my journey is still going. I'm still doing the thing, but I remember that night. That was tough to see all you guys, and even when the night opened, I'm like, damn, this is their last night.
Yeah.
They're retiring,
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff had 20. Well, he had taken a break, but he was on 20 years. Jeremy was on 20 years. Alex was on 20 years, and it was my 21st year. Yeah. And they talked me into staying one more year because they wanted to do their 20 years. That's 80 years right there. And I don't even have words. That's why I can't talk right now. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
That was a good season too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just for you guys, but for Ghost Town in general.
Yeah, you were my talent captain, bro.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
You're my first year coming in as a cast lead, and your last year out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was great.
But you know what? I just tell people this, and the cast leads have a really tough job. And if anybody's listening to this podcast and you think your cast lead is a dick or they're too strict or whatever it is, you know what? Why don't you put that yellow shirt on and you go try and do what they do in a night? It's virtually impossible, and they got to keep track of 50 to 100 people, and plus play security and all this stuff. And our team, we've goofed off. But we goofed off to the point where we didn't. And you can attest to this, Scott. You never had to worry about us ever.
Yeah.
Like there was never a time where you had to come running, and that's what our group tried to do. Is we would always protect ourselves. We would always make sure that we were in the right, and we'd always stay busy, and we were always working. And if anybody on this podcast, besides staying healthy, it wants to take any advice, is that if you're going to go work, you go to work and you have fun, and don't make people have to worry about you.
Yeah.
Just don't.
That's exactly it.
And don't be a dick.
It's not about one person. It's about the broad range of everybody.
Yeah.
It's in the show.
Yeah. Don't be cocky. Don't be a dick. Stay healthy and just have
stay
fun.
Healthy. I preach that, the health side and training outside of season like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I do is what we do is why we can still do what we do at the age we're at. Because we stayed healthy, and it's not just during that time of the year. It's year round. You got to be like that in order to perform to the best of your, to the best levels during season.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're retired now, and then let's parlay a little bit into what you did with Decayed Brigade, because I know you were in that for a while, but I know for a fact that 2014 you left, and you and I got to work again together in 2016, which was fucking epic, because that was a show that was 10 years in the making. In 2016, the first Sliders Unite. So yeah, talk a little bit about what you did with Brigade and whatnot, and how that kind of, I guess you could say, lengthened your scary guy career.
Gary Davis, everybody knows him as Spaz. One night I got a call, and I was with Alex Robles, Cowboy Bobby at the time, and we had always talked about, you know, taking sliding to another level. And there's always been sliding shows and pre-shows, you know, before the hanging and all this stuff. And you know, he said, "Hey, we got this guy." Can't remember his name, from Scream Team, but you know, he said, "Hey, we have this opportunity to do a slider show at a hunt convention, and it's called Scare LA." And I'm like, "Scare LA? What the hell is that?" I mean, I don't know what it was. And he's like, "We could go in front of all these people and just do a slider show. That's all we have to do." And like, for sliders, that's like a dream. Like, oh yeah, I would love to do that. So you know, we were kind of at the beck and call of this guy, and you know, he had some sliders of his own that we had never met before. They were fairly green, and but Gary's the one that started it. Spaz is the guy. He's the one that started Decayed Brigade, and it wasn't even named Decayed Brigade, I think, the first 2 years.
Yeah. Well, you guys didn't even have a common look yet.
Scream Team. I think it was Scream Team.
It was Scream Team.
And we just mix mosh these costumes together, and they had recruited makeup artists from like a school, and they were horrible. And we kind of choreographed something, you know. But the convention was super worried about us marking up the floor, so we ended up getting the sticky vinyl to put on the floor, which was like ice. Like
super fast, yeah.
But you couldn't even run on it. It was like being on a hockey rink.
Damn.
So the sliding was incredible, but you couldn't stand up.
Oh,
and
wow.
the first rehearsal, we had to stick that stuff down on the floor. And the first rehearsal, you know, you would jump up like a quick slide and jump up on your feet. And it was like you hit a banana peel.
Wow.
And you would just land on the cement. I mean, it was gnarly.
Oh, wow.
Ask my wife; she almost killed herself on it. But you know what, and for lack of a better word, you know, even though it was a total shit show, the first one, the crowd loved it, and we had a lot of fun, and basically the Scream Team guys, you know, they were good guys, but it just didn't work out because they weren't really organized. And the next year came, and you know, Scare LA had kind of broken into two pieces, and then they started doing the Long Beach thing, and so Scare LA was doing their own thing, and then Midsummer Scream started, and you know, then we recruited some guys. You know, Gary was like, "Okay, now we have control." I gotta say Spaz because everybody knows him as Spaz. Yeah. Spaz is like, "Hey, now we have control." He's like, "We you know, the Scream Team guys are gone. You know, let's recruit some guys that we know." And the whole thing was like, it wasn't about the stunts. It was more about showing people like how fun sliding can be. It wasn't really pushing the envelope that first year. So we choreographed the show, and we did it, and man, it was just addicting, and it was fun, and there wasn't a care in the world. And so since then, we've pioneered a lot of things. You guys have seen the ramps in our shows. You know, we've gone to skate parks and done sliding. You know, there's been a lot of hard work in inventing new tricks and actually choreographing, like dancing. Yeah. There's been a lot of stuff that we've done, and we've really pushed the envelope. And I will tell you, there has been a buttload of arguing and a buttload of drama, and but you know what? It's just all for the better, and it's to make the team well. And the last year that we did it was 2019. You know, we did a couple of fairs. We did one up in Bishop, California. We got offered to do a show in front of all the fair presidents of the United States, the people that run all the county fairs for the United States. It ended up not working out. It was really difficult to coordinate because we all have real jobs, and we couldn't make it. But it really got us a lot of notoriety, and it really worked out really well. And but it was hard because I have a 6-year-old son. I was working full time in hotels, and then to be honest with you, Decayed Brigade was a full time gig. It was eating up all my time, and it was killing me. And then lastly, you know, and I don't know if you know this, Jeremy, but my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that took the wind out of our sails for a couple of years, and I had to give it up. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was exhausting me. It was taking a mental toll, and the team is still together, but right after that happened, then COVID. So, and I know a lot of teams are still trying to pick up the pieces and put things back together. And, I know with the whole Queen Mary stuff and that moving, and, there's just a lot of things that are still trying to piece together now. I still stay in contact with a few of the guys, and the a couple guys have taken over, and I don't know what their plans are. I don't really communicate with them anymore. It's a very private group, which is fine. I mean, they're very secret about what they do, and I'm the one that started all that. So I get it. I totally understand that. Yeah. Who knows what's in store? But there's still possibilities of me going out there once in a while, but I think the hardcore part of me is I think I'm done for a while at least.
Yeah.
Well, if you may be Chase and I are working on something that I think you'll be pretty proud of.
Oh yes, I've gotten glimpses of it, and dude, when you see it, you're gonna think it's dope.
Yeah, it'll be cool. So yeah, we're I reached out to him and I told him, I go, we got to do something. I've been slowly trying to get my feet back into the industry, and I loved it so much, and I love the team, your guys' team. The stuff that you guys are doing is just, I represent constantly.
That's cool.
I'm like, I want to do something for you guys, and do a little mashup, and so I think you'll be.
Dude, that's awesome. No, I would love to see it. I look, I started this when I was 18, and I did it because it was fun, and I did it all these years just because it was fun, and I'm just a competitive, and I'm a really committed person to everything that I do, and and I give everything my all, and and I just I want people to push the envelope, and I still think it can go farther, we have this incredible idea before I retired about doing just this incredible show. I got to talk to you about it, Scott. Okay. But I mean, just unbelievable. And we were going to commit to it. Then obviously, with my wife and all that stuff going on, I had to step back, but all that stuff is still in my head. And, I still watch the shows, and do I miss it? I miss it a lot. I do. But the time that I've been able to get back with my son, and commit myself to a few other things, and things that have been on my bucket list, like joining a parkour gym and things like that. I wasn't able to do all those things, and now I'm able to do those things. So it's kind of a trade.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. Now you're doing the stuff that you put on the back burner for the better part of 20 years.
Yeah. But and like I said, I'll still go out there, and once sliding starts getting back up at the rinks and stuff, I'll still be out there, and I'm still committed next year to help out and consult with a couple different haunts, and I still love to do that stuff. But for anything that's going to be full time or a lot of time.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing too. Like, I don't know if after the first Sliders United show, I spoke with, already interviewed myself and Lee, and you and I, the three of us have been sliding for years and years and years. But when Brigade came into the picture, it actually gave more visibility to the actual art of sliding and pushed it more in the forefront for haunt events. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you can't dispute. It's one of those things now. And when that show came about, that was something that I didn't know was going to happen until Lee came to the park and says, "Hey, guess what?" And he told me what was going on. And he's like, too, that I was already quote unquote retired from being talent.
Yeah. And
he's like, "I need you to come out of retirement." And we started talking. I said, "Okay, what do you need?" And I said, "All right, I'm going to go talk to them." And that's what I talked to Chase. Like, this is who you need to pull in from the team for this show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, putting that show together in 2 days.
Yeah. It's
so much fun.
It was, it's just something that just baffles me. It just completely baffles me. So Knott's is where sliding was pioneered. right? And there's all these parks that are doing sliding shows,
Mm-hmm.
right? Most of the guys that were in Decayed Brigade are working at Haunt. Most of them. The shows were so elaborate and all this stuff done, and yet Queen Mary does a show, Magic Mountain does a show, and you could attract hundreds, if not thousands of people to a slider show at the park where it was invented,
Mm-hmm.
and they won't do it.
Mm-hmm. What's funny is when we did the show at Queen Mary, that was a sold out Wednesday night. They were at full capacity.
No, I remember. Yeah, and I mean, we filled the park, and it's I don't get it.
Yeah, we've had many discussions in regards to not just missing the mark on a ton of shit, let alone sliding.
And I think that's where that little God complex comes in. Is that they I don't know like we've done these productions with a team of 15 guys.
Yeah.
And I call it, we're all from the streets, because we're literally from the Haunt streets, right? And we put these things together for next to no money.
Yeah.
And you guys have seen how crazy and phenomenal they turned out, especially our last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about if you put a little production money behind something like this, and you use your street monsters to do it. I don't understand it. And
that's exactly what I said to Scott after we left 2019, the Midsummer Screams. After we watched that show, I was like, dude, if they had more money to put behind this thing.
Dude. I mean, like I said, we did that for next to nothing, and
yeah.
And it's just rehearsing. It's a lot of time, and but I mean. I don't get it. Mm-hmm. And especially when we brought in like Scott, you're the original guy that brought in the first ramp, and then we ran with that. And then the last 2 years we had the boxes and the ramps, and then in 2019 we started going to skate parks, and we pissed off a lot of skaters and bikers. But we would go to skate parks, and we were setting up obstacle courses and doing all this stuff. And you want to talk about getting in shape, dude? You want to take your slider team to a skate park?
Yeah,
they're gonna die. It was awesome. But
when we set up the course at the rink that one time, that speed.
Oh yeah,
that was so much fun.
It was so much fun, And but I don't. We get all this momentum, but nobody wants to pick it up and run with it. So, and I put all my energy into that, and I just kind of gave up on it because I just wish that somebody would pick that up and run with it, because it could go pretty far and it would do pretty well. I'm not saying anybody can make $1 million doing it, but but what it can do is it can drive a lot of social media. It can drive a lot of people to shows. It could be one extra show at Knott's. I mean, because they're the ones they could take credit for that.
Well, that's the thing. It's entertaining. I mean, look at look at all the people that we just going back to the pre-show days.
That's where the show's spawned from.
We used to get a lot of fucking people.
It's funny. My wife is listening to this. She's sitting over on the couch, and when you said look at the pre-show, she's sitting on the couch and she goes, "Yeah, hello." She's like, "Hello."
Yeah, I mean, look,
that's where it started.
A good
we started
15.
Doing that.
You're right.
Yeah, a good 15% of those people went to go see the fucking sliders, and then after that, they bounced.
Yeah.
It's like they're, and then when you guys started doing it after they canceled the pre-show. A couple years passed, and then you guys started doing it out in the middle of the streets.
Yeah.
A whole group of people. Now imagine it, and then taking it to where it's at now. Now imagine that as a scheduled production show inside of wherever. I don't care what park. You get a lot of people.
I don't get it. And like I said, the show we did in 2019. Those 3 shows were phenomenal. Even actually 2018, we did the Asylum show and all that stuff. I mean, those shows were. I mean, I still watch them, and it blows my mind how we put those together at a Garden Grove, at a park.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, Chapman Park, and it's a bunch of goof offs. I mean. Dude, it's like herding cats when we're trying to do that. It's like having a bunch of kids. Yeah.
I mean, after watching the last show in 2019, I pictured and then they canceled the hanging. Thank God. I pictured a, total full stage, 45-minute, almost like Cirque du Soleil style sliding show on the stage of Calico. Like, how dope would that be?
I know. We've talked about this. And we've like,
you know,
especially when DB was at like 18, 19, you know, we had so many discussions about this. And you know, I don't know who makes those decisions in entertainment. I don't know who and sometimes I think it just comes down to a pride thing, like who's on the team and whether or not they want us involved or not involved, you know, or it's an insurance thing, you know, whatever it may be. But I know Scott had thrown that idea out years ago. And I just don't get it. Like it just, for me, it's like a total no brainer. And I
know for a long time, they didn't like the sliders. They hated them.
Oh, I know.
That's the reason why the pre-show got taken away, because we were taking too much focus away from the hanging. But
run with what works.
Thank you. You know what I mean? Getting the crowd ready for the show.
I know.
Yeah, I know. We can go around till we're blue in the face. Like we'll never understand how they feel, what they think. You know, I think it's beyond a money thing. I think it's more of, like you said, a pride thing. It's like they have something in the back of their heads where they just don't want to give sliders that spotlight.
Yeah.
There's like, let them do it. Let them do it in the dark. Let them scare people. Fine. That's their thing. They're not going to complain. Let them keep doing it. But they just will always shut it down when it goes any further.
I think, and I think Scott's going to agree with me on 100%, is in the next few years, something is going to happen where another amusement park is going to pick up and do a show very similar to what DB was doing. And it's going to get a lot of social media attention. Yep. And yeah, Scott, come talk to me. So,
yeah.
Okay. Talking about shows, I don't know if you guys know, this year in the entire state of California, there was only one park that had a slider show.
It was Magic Mountain, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a really good show.
Yeah, it was. It was very good.
It was a really good show. It was so entertaining. You know, I mean, that whole team, I think they rehearsed for a week to put it all together. And it was just, from the first time I saw it, I'm like, dude, this is fucking rad.
That's good. And again, like, you know, a lot of parks are picking up the pieces from COVID. I'm glad they put something together. I mean, I'm actually amazed they did. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. That group over there they're very talented.
That's good. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's you know, it was good to see something like that coming off of a rough year.
Yeah.
You know, pandemic year, and they went back full swing, and you know, they're in LA County, so they the second half of their run, they actually got mandated to where all the talent had to wear masks.
Oh,
yeah.
And here's the kicker: like, you could not even tell. Like, the makeup artists there, they made it to where the mask was completely integrated into the makeup.
Yeah, I'm just talking about breathing.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that, like, some were like, yeah, it was a little bit tough, but we adjusted.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's all good things, though. You know, I mean.
Well, you know me, man. If you ever need help or need I'll never ask for anything. You know that, dude. I'll just come help.
A phone call away. I know.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know, Paul, did we cover everything?
I think we did.
Your history is pretty deep.
We could go on for hours, but yeah, I mean, we covered the career part. I mean, like I said, I'm involved in a lot of stuff now. Everything from the Inland Empire to, you know, to doing stuff, you know, for local, like, home hunt events, just little things. You know, people know me now, so they'll just call me and I come out and help, and it's nice. It's still fun, and I still get to scratch that itch. And you know, I actually had a hunt reach out to me this year and offer me $40 an hour to go scare. Yep, I'm not joking. Wow. You can ask my wife to work the last 2 weekends of hunt, just to come and work with their talent to do it. So it's still, the buzz is still out there, and people still know me. And you know, it's nice to be wanted once in a while. Oh, yeah.
It is a good feeling. I can attest to that.
Yeah. But you guys know, and every October I have the itch. September, October. If you guys ever need help with anything, I'll be there. You know, I'm always willing to come out and help for a night or two, and, you know, humiliate people as a 7-year-old. So.
Well, I know you always play. Yeah, I mean, you've been playing over at Curse of the Raven.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was there 2 weekends in a row, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went by and saw it again this year, and I was talking to him, and I'm like, I knew he was going to be here.
So I'll finish with this story. So we got about 1,500 trick or treaters this year on Halloween night. Yeah, and there was an F-350 that was raised about an 8-inch lift that was driving down the street, and their whole bed of their truck was full of candy. They were literally throwing it out of the bed of their truck.
Wow.
So I dropped my shovel. I was dressed as a scarecrow, and I dropped my shovel. And I raced down the street, and it was probably going about 3 or 4 miles an hour. I raced down the street, jumped on the bed of the truck, and there was girls sitting on every corner of the bed. And the 2 girls against the cab saw me coming. And I ran up and I jumped on the bed of the truck, and I grabbed one girl by both of her shoulders. And, she screamed all hell and like threw everything in the guy in the truck. He had one of those like train horns.
Uh-huh.
So he lights up the train horn, and I'm on the bed, and she throws the candy in the air. Everyone's screaming. Everyone in the street sees what's going on. So he tears off, right? So about an hour goes by, and I'm in the yard again scaring, and I hear Robert Bradvica, Red Rum for those of you who are using names. He starts screaming at me, Paul, Spats. He's screaming at me, and I'm in the yard scaring people. And I look up, and I see the truck coming back down the street. And I'm like, oh, crap, here we go. So I drop my shovel again, or actually, no, I'm sorry. I walk into the middle of the street, and the driver sees me. He rolls his window down. He's smiling, and he slows down. And right in front of Robert's house, there's a stop sign. So he has to stop because he's going the other way. Ooh. So I open my arms up, like, what's up? And I drop my shovel, and the girl in the back sees me, and she's like, oh, no. So I run over, and I jump over on the wheel well, and he starts driving off, but he realizes that there's a stop sign. So he has to stop. And I'm all over these girls in the back of the car. The police actually saw me, and he thought I was doing a fabulous job. He wanted to make sure I was. I jumped out. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." He's like, "Dude, that was awesome." Still got it, man. I still love doing it. Like I said, you never lose it. You never get over it, man.
Nope.
So
there's always that bug.
Yeah, there's always that bug.
That's awesome. Well, Paul, I appreciate you being on the podcast with us, taking the time. It's been nice chatting with you.
It was so good.
Learning some stories that we didn't even know.
I will tell you guys, I'm so humble that I've been able to do this all these years, and that I get asked to do stuff like this because I just love it. I love telling the story. It's not about, I tell you guys this, it's not about who's the best. It's about doing it and having fun and doing what you love. And, I would do it for free. That's how much I love it.
Yeah. It's so fun. I love doing it.
No, it's really awesome to see you guys. Just stay in touch. If you guys ever need anything, I'm a phone call away.
Man.
You're like 15-minute drive away from me. So
I know.
It's all good.
You're about 7 hours from me, but what you can do.
Yeah. Do you have social media? You do, right?
I do, but I only check it about every couple weeks. So
okay. So do you want to plug it on here? Do you want to shout it out and give people their?
He's like,
it's just my name. It's just Paul J Frechette. It's not anything rocket. It's not rocket science.
Well,
I don't have like
different name.
I don't have like a character name like Spats at Instagram. Yeah. So no, it's just my name, Paul Frechette. Look me up on Facebook or Instagram. I don't post a lot of any of that hardcore haunt stuff anymore. I do have a haunt history folder on my Facebook page if you want to look up some of the older stuff. Like there's pictures of me proposing to my wife, and there's some older ones, and even you guys I think are in there, a couple things. So nice. I'll even check it tomorrow. Sweet. I'll even check it tomorrow. Maybe I'll upload some new stuff once the podcast is up, people can check it out.
Yeah.
We'll send you the link before. I'll send you the link before it goes up, so you can post it. Whatever. It's like, hey, this is coming out this day.
Yeah,
I would love to.
Yeah,
sweet man,
for sure.
All right, well, we'll let you go, and again, everybody, thanks for watching, and like and subscribe, and make sure you share this with all your peeps. And if you don't, then who cares? We're doing it for us, not for you. Love you guys. All right, buddy.
Love you guys.
Love you, man.
Take care.
Later.
Yeah.